Welcome back, Kaiju fans. So let's talk about our next Day Zero character, everyone's first or maybe second favorite robot, Mechagodzilla Modified Type 3 Kiryu. Aside from having one of the longest names in Universus, it has a 5 hand size, 32 health, which seems a little low, but we'll get to that. The giant keyword trait, and the symbols of all, good, and order. It has 2 static abilities. The first is, you may look at and play cards in your removed pile that have Kiryu counters on them as though they were in your hand. So you're a 5-hander. And then as another static, at the start of your combat phase, remove the top card of your deck face down with a Kiryu counter on it. So you're a 6-hander. Now that also means at the very first turn, even if you're going first, because statics don't activate, so you're still technically like a 6-hander, which explains the lower health. But because there are cards that remove themselves and add Kiryu counters to themselves, you could be like a 6, 7, 8, 9-hander, depending on how much you stock up. And I will say, you're allowed to play these on your turn, and you're allowed to play them on your rival's turn. You can block with them, or if they have hand effects, I believe you are still allowed to activate them because you can play them as though they were in your hand. So if you have actions that have hand enhances, you can play those. We also have an enhance here. This attack gets +2 damage. If it is completely blocked, commit 1 rival foundation. So a couple things about this. You can give your rival's attack damage with this ability. And if you completely block that rival's attack, you can selectively commit 1 foundation on their side of the board on their turn. This is not a once per turn ability, and you just could push this button on every attack, and as long as it's completely blocked, you can just keep tapping down your rival's board. It is pretty good. It's pretty gross. I dig this kind of ability. So let's look at our attack lineup for Mechagodzilla Modified Type 3 Kiryu. We're going to start with Fusion Chest Cannon. I believe I previewed this card, which was pretty neat. It's a 5/3, 5 mid for 5 with a 1 mid block, Breaker 1, Charge, Ranged, and Tech. Breaker 1 being a response that says if you block with this card, your rival's next check to play a card gets -1. So very good defensive ability there. We have a response after this attack deals damage to a character, so not a backup, but it has to deal damage to your rival's character. Your rival commits 2 foundations, and then you get to freeze 2 rival foundations. So they pick which 2 to commit, and then you can choose 2 of your rival's foundations and say those 2 don't ready during your next ready step. So you start the next turn with basically 2 less foundations. Fun fact, you can freeze a ready foundation. It will not do you any good unless you can commit it, though. And then we have a Mechagodzilla response in the card pool, which means at any time in the card pool, this response could be used. At the start of the end phase, remove this card with a Kiryu counter on it, only playable if you've blocked with this card this turn. So I suppose it would make more sense just say card pool rival's turn, but we do have those 2 attacks that can attack on our rival's turn, so maybe this is to clear up with that. But if we block with this card, we not only can hack their check by 1 with Breaker 1, but at the end of the turn we get to remove this card with a Kiryu counter on it, so it's basically in our hand, and we could play it if we wanted to. Or we can just keep a +1 mid block with Breaker 1 that we can constantly keep looping back and always have in our hand. I think I like that option better. I'm always going to have Breaker 1 +1 mid blocks, and then I can just keep looping those back into my hand. That is insane. We have the secret rare Mechanical Monster, which is insanely busy art, but still really cool. It is a 5/3, 3 high for 7, 1 mid block, powerful 3, ranged, and tech. Powerful 3 being a keyword ability that says, as an enhance, you can spend 1 or more momentum, and for each momentum you spent to pay this card's cost, you get +3 damage. So that can get out of hand really quickly. As a blitz, your rival commits 1 foundation, and then if they have 10 or more foundations, you get to selectively commit 1 of their foundations. So it's stun 1, and then you can selectively commit 1 if they're at 10 or more foundations. And then another blitz, this attack gets +1 speed for each committed rival foundation. So the speed of this card can also get out of control really quick. This is a very good finisher, especially if you were able to play really solid defense on your rival's turn, and maybe you used Kiryu to block and then like perfect block a bunch of stuff and then commit a bunch of foundations on their turn, so they have limited defensive resources. This card can get absolutely out of control. We have Grab the Moment, a 4/3, 4 mid for 4, 2 mid block with charge. As a blitz, freeze 1 rival foundation. Then if your rival has 2 or more frozen foundations, draw 1 card. So I kind of added a bit of a freeze pseudo mechanic here because Mechagodzilla wants to commit rival foundations, and then we have cards like Mechanical Monster that want to play off of having committed foundations. And freezing foundations just says you're going to play with less foundations on your turn, and then I'm just going to keep just widening the gap between us. Which is also why we have Hindering the Armored Titan here. A 4/3, 4 mid for 4, 2 mid block with weapon. Blitz, freeze 1 rival foundation. Deadlock Blitz, so only playable if our rival has at least 11 foundations. Freeze 2 rival foundations. So if they have 11 foundations, we can freeze 3 of them, which is really good. That is a really strong ability there. We have Cursed Ice Breath, a 5/3, 4 low for 5, 1 mid block with ranged. Enhance, freeze 1 rival foundation. Your rival may discard 1 card to cancel this effect. So again, we're saying, hey, we're going to freeze that so you can't use it during your next turn. But if you want to, it'll cost you. And then we make this a 4 low 7 with Kiryu and say, if you don't want to take 7, I'm gonna commit 1 of your cards. And just kind of tax your rival's mental load a little bit. And lastly, we have Integrated Weapons, a 4/3, 3 mid for 5 with a 1 low block, stun 1 and tech. Stun 1 is a keyword ability that says enhance. Your rival commits 1 foundation, which is good. And as a Mechagodzilla response, we can commit 1 foundation or spend 1 momentum. That's our cost. We can pick either or. It's basically drive 1, but obviously they didn't want to say drive 1 here. But at the start of the end phase, we get to remove this card with a Kiryu counter on it. I believe this was errated to be a card pool response, because I don't think you can play this in the from the discard pile. I don't think you can play that ability. Day 0 erratas for Reign of Kaiju. We're looking this up real quick. Yes, it is now a card pool response. So, kind of like Fusion Chest Cannon. If this card's in the card pool, at the start of the end phase, you remove it with a Kiryu counter on it, but it could be if it's blocked, if you use it as a block, or an attack. So, it's still really, really good. And it's got that off-zone 1 low block, which is really sweet. We have an asset here, Idun Box, a 2/5, 2 low block with unique. Enhance commit, return this attack to its printed speed and damage, return it to its printed zone, and if it was unblockable, it is no longer unblockable. So just full reset on your rival's attack. It's now all back to printed. It has no special abilities on it anymore. Well, unless it has like enhances and blitzes it hasn't played yet. But anyway, it's just all the way back to printed. Deal with it. Really one of the best defensive pieces in my opinion. And then we have Protector of Life, a very ridiculous action. It's a 2/5, 2 mid block with Breaker 1. Again, meaning if we block with this card, our rival's next check to play a card gets -1. And then as a response, after you block with this card, that attack deals no damage. And add a power token to our stage. Power token being a card that sits on our stage. It cannot be committed to pass checks, but we can sacrifice it to give our attack 2 damage. So even if we can't completely block an attack, we can just say, hey, it's not going to do any damage, and we get a bit of a power buff, and your next check's going to get reduced. This also works on throws. So if your rival hits you with a throw, even if you completely block it, it will still deal half damage rounded up, unless you block with a card like Protector of Life, which just says, still no damage. Very silly defensive card here. And what a card to rip out of your remove from game pile with a Kiryu counter on it to really shock your rival. No backups here, but we are going to move on to our foundations, and we start with Threat Neutralized, a 2/5, 2 mid-block, unique and tech. Unique meaning you can only have one copy of it in your stage at a time. As a static, this card cannot be destroyed by rival effects. So if your rival is Godzilla and they try to do the board wipe, this card sticks around. Pretty handy. And then as a response, commit after one or more of your foundations is destroyed by a rival effect. Build one foundation from your discard pile committed. So hey, you Godzilla board wiped and you forgot that I had a threat neutralized. I'm gonna commit threat neutralized and build my best foundation in committed. Now I have 2 foundations. Yay. So this is a very strong anti-Godzilla card for any character with the good symbol. We also have high and low guard, again showcasing the new zero diffs. These are really good to see early on for a wide build early in like turn 1 and 2. And they have nice off-zone blocks too. We have Brace for Impact, another really good surprise card to play if it's got a Kiryu counter on it. A 2/5, 2 mid-block with Deadlock Breaker 2. As a static, when you try to block with this card, return your rival's attack to its printed speed and zone. So just saying, oops, I'm going to block and it's going to be printed, and because it was removed from the game with a Kiryu counter on it, you just never saw it coming, even if I had no cards in hand. It's crazy. We have Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, a 3/5, 3 low block with unique. As a Mechagodzilla response, after we check this card, we get to remove it with a Kiryu counter on it. We check it, we add it to our hand, basically. And then as a response commit, after you block with a card, we get to return it to our hand. So, many people remember the card Incredible Display, which says response commit after we block with a foundation, we get to add it to our hand. This says any card. We can block with Protector of Life, deal no damage, Breaker 1, get a power token, add it back to our hand, try again. We could block with Brace for Impact, return it to printed speed and zone, full block, pick it up, try again, Deku, sorry, you're not going to flash me to death. Very powerful defensive card here. I'm glad it's unique, because that was one thing about Incredible Display, it was not unique. And it's got a very nice low block, too. We have Moment of Normalcy, a 2/5, 3 high block with unique. Enhanced commit, return this attack to its printed speed or damage. So, whichever one we're having trouble with on the number side, we can reduce it back to its printed value. We have Daring Swordplay, a 5/3, ooh, I'm tired, guys. We have a 2/5, 2 low block, Breaker 1, I don't know where those numbers came from. Enhanced commit, this attack gets +2 speed. If it is blocked, your next attack gets +1 speed. So, we're trying to make sure this attack hits, but even if it doesn't, we're going to make our next one faster. And if our rival completely blocked it, we also get to commit one of their foundations with Mechagodzilla. So then, we commit their best defensive piece, and our next one is going to get a little bit faster. Pretty fun. We have Crisis of Confidence, a 2/5, 2 low block with Form, Commit, spend 1 momentum, freeze 1 rival foundation. If our rival has 8 or more foundations, we get to freeze 2 foundations instead. So this is kind of a good use for our momentum if we're not spending it on Powerful or EX or anything like that. But we can just say, hey, we're going to make sure that you don't have as many options on your turn. Sorry, buddy. We have Fighting for Control, a very fun card to do when you're to use when you're freezing rival foundations. A 2/4, 3 high block. Response: during our rival's turn, we flip it. After our rival makes a check to play a non-foundation card, that check gets -2. Now, failing the check won't end the combat phase, but it might mean an attack that we don't have to deal with. We have Acrobatic Style, a 1/5 with a 3 low block, with a Tenacious response, or playable while this card is committed. We flip it. After a rival foundation is committed due to our effect, we get to ready this card. So that's really good, because Mechagodzilla commits cards on face. We have Childlike Appearance, a 2/4, 2 high block. Enhance, sacrifice, spend 1 momentum. Reduce this attack's speed to 0. If it is blocked, commit 1 rival foundation. So imagine you use Mechagodzilla to give your rival's attack 2 damage. You spend a momentum and sacrifice Childlike Appearance to reduce its speed to 0. You completely block it, and you selectively commit your rival's best 2 foundations. That is a lot of extra steps for a showdown, but it is still a very good card. It's still a very good ability to use. We have Benevolent Kaiju, a 1/5 with a 3 high block. Enhanced commit, this attack gets -2 speed, but if it has the evil symbol, it gets -3 speed instead. So, some decent speed hate, but if your rival's playing a lot of evil attacks, it's good speed hate. We have Mechagodzilla Arrives, a 2/5, 2 high block. Enhance, sacrifice, and sacrifice a power token. Commit 1 non-character card in your rival's stage. We can commit foundations, backups, assets, anything that's not a character. And we get to select it, so that's really good. And then as a Deadlock Enhance during our turn, add a power token to our stage. We have Countermeasure, a 3/5, 3 high block. Response: flip. After your rival plays a non-character ability that would increase the damage of an attack, cancel it. So no powerful, no power tokens, anything that just says this attack is plus whatever damage, as long as that ability is not printed on a character, we can just tell them no. We have King of Illyria, a 1/5, 2 high block with Unique. Enhance, add this card to your hand. Add 1 committed rival foundation from their stage to their hand. But if we've played a Roman Cancel ability this turn, this ability is Tenacious. We don't have any way to get Roman Cancel tokens in this deck because I did not add any attacks with tension. But this is still just a pretty good thing that if we're committing cards, especially during our rival's turn, then during our turn, we can add that card back to our rival's hand and just selectively say, yeah, you don't get to use that card. Sorry. We're just going to clog your hand so that you either have to review that card or maybe just not draw as many good cards. And then if you froze a bunch of other ones, you're just further limiting the resources they have access to. And then we have Secretary of Defense, a 2/5, 2 low block. Response: commit. After you seal 1 or more rival foundations, commit 1 of them. We also have Response: after you commit 1 or more rival foundations, seal 1 of them. Seal that foundation at the beginning of the next turn. So a card that is sealed loses all of its abilities and cannot gain abilities. So we can say, hey, when you fully block my attack, Mechagodzilla is going to commit 1 of your foundations. I'm going to get to choose. Then I'm going to commit Secretary of Defense to seal it. And then during your turn, even if it wasn't frozen, you still don't get access to that card's abilities. So this character, at least the way I built it here, is all about preventing your rival from doing pretty much anything on their turn, aside from maybe sling some attacks. But you want to commit their foundations, freeze their foundations, and seal their foundations so that they don't have access to all of the cool stuff in their stage that would really give you a headache. But that is my day 0 for Mechagodzilla Modified Type 3 Kiryu. What do you guys think? I'm glad that we're getting some really cool 5-handers between him and Ghidorah. We also got Biolante, which among all 3 of them, they're kind of fake 5-handers because they have a way to get access to more cards. But other than Biolante, I'm glad we're getting some 5-handers that aren't on the Earth symbol. I think that number needs to be spread out a little bit more. But this is one I'm really interested in building. I want to build all the 5-handers in this set, but I think it would go Biolante, Mechagodzilla, and then Ghidorah, just because I like the deck building puzzle of the Mechagodzilla and Biolante more than Ghidorah, because he just seems a little bit more straightforward. But yeah, this dude is gonna be really fun to play. And I think if I'm looking at the stats here on my deck, this might be my most viewed Day Zero deck yet. At least I haven't seen the numbers on the other ones. So people are checking out my my Day Zeros on uvsultra.online. So yeah, let me know what you think of Mechagodzilla Modified Type 3 Kiryu in the description, in the comments below. I am very tired. I apologize. If you found this deck profile helpful or entertaining, please leave a like on it and consider subscribing if you haven't already. It would really help me out a lot. Until next time, take care, guys.